I'd like to call to order the Fire Board meeting of, what is today, May
17th.
15th. Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge
Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag
to the
of
flag
the
of the
United
United
States
States of America
America
and to the republic for which it stands,
And
one nation, under God, indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and
justice for all.
All right. Moving on, can we have the roll call, please?
Yes, ma'am. Aldrich,
Here.
Beckman,
Here.
Fox. Fox, you here?
Hi, Dan.
Oh.
Here.
Okay, got it. Verplank,
Here.
Phelps,
Here.
Pullen,
here,
and Miller is absent with notice.
Right. Could I remind everybody to silence their cell phones and try not to text during the meeting? Could we have approval of the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda of May 17th, 2021.
This is Aldrich, I'll support.
Okay, I have a motion by Paul and a second by Aldrich. Is there any discussion? Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, ma'am. Pullen,
Yes,
Aldrich,
Yes.
Phelps,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
and Verplank.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0, ma'am.
Thank you. Could we have approval of the minutes of the April 19th meeting?
March 15th.
it's coming on.
Peter's joining.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of April 19th, 2021.
I'll support.
I have a motion by Pullen and a support by Beckman. Is there any discussion? Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, ma'am. Pullen,
Yes,
Beckman,
Yes.
Aldrich,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Verplank,
Yes.
and Phelps.
Yes.
Passes 6-0, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Is there any public comment? You see anybody, Chris?
It looks like Eric, Jeremy, and Peter are the only public here, so remember to press *9 or use the raise hand button in Zoom. I'm seeing none.
Okay. Moving on. We have requests for payments. Peter, go ahead. Peter?
I thought, yeah, the budget amendment would be first, but I don't know if he's still on the other meeting he was on or not.
Peter, are you with us?
Can you hear me now?
There we
Yes,
Yeah.
we got you, Peter.
Okay. So hang on, I'm printing out the budget adjustment. I can't get my screen to go back to the full size for some reason. Shoot,
It's all right, Peter.
where? Zoom?
We can circle back to him, couldn't we, Jane, if you want?
Jane
Yeah.
Lawrence.
or you can just tell us what the budget adjustment is.
All right. Sorry.
Hang on, let me get to the, let me pull it down. What, Chris, do you know what page it is?
It is page 6.
Okay,
It's on the screen share if you can see it as well
Yeah,
too.
well, that's
but-
the problem. I can't see the screen, so I
Oh.
pulled up the actual packet, so I'll just start from here. So this is the budget adjustment number 2. And I'm just gonna start the revenues. We've got an increase of revenue from the city, a decrease from the township, an increase from Douglas City. A decrease in fire service revenues, inspection plan fees, cost recovery, federal grants and donations, sales of assets are an increase in revenues. And then basically we have all the expense line items from the board salary to chief salary, officer salary, of some increases and decreases, basically moving all the monies around so we're not overspent in any of the particular line items.
Good.
And then after we prepared this budget adjustment, then we were awarded another, I think it was $18,000 is hitting the checking account today from one of the federal grants from last fall. The state finally divvied up the last pool of money. So we'll probably have to do another budget adjustment in our last meeting in June. So I don't know if anybody has any particular line item questions.
Oh, I don't,
Otherwise, we would need a motion.
right, I don't see any questions, so can we have a motion, please?
I'll make
Is this budget adjustment supposed to be included in our packet?
It
It
is
should have been.
Yeah,
Pardon me?
page
page
6.
6.
Mine is, I got page 6 and there isn't a budget adjustment on it. Oh, I see, it's so long. Never mind, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Sorry, there's
Okay.
a number of line items to read.
Yeah, now I see it. Okay, thank
Do you
you.
need a motion?
Eric, would you make a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the budget adjustment number 2 as presented by Peter.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Beckman and a second by Pullen. Is there any discussion? Okay, Pete, could I have a roll call vote?
Beckman,
Yes.
Pullen,
Yes,
Aldrich,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Verplank,
Yes.
and Phelps.
Yes.
Passes 6-0, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, moving on, we have the accounts payable, please, Peter. Well, Peter can't see him. Can
You're
I
muted, Peter.
have a motion to pass the accounts? please?
I'll make a motion to pass the accounts payable, $124,249.02.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Phelps and a second by Pullen. Is there any discussion about the accounts payables? Okay, Chris, could I have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, ma'am. Phelps,
Yes.
Pullen,
Yes,
Aldrich,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
and Verplank.
Yes.
Passes 6-0, ma'am.
Thank you. Moving on, we have a financial report, please.
Okay. My turn on?
Yes.
Yep.
yes.
Okay, so now the financial report. These numbers reflect the budget adjustment that we just approved here a few moments ago. So we had an amended budget of revenue of $1,636,000, and we've collected 99% of our revenues. Basically, we just have some more inspection and plan review fees by the end of June and some revenue and some interest. And then now we get to the expense line items. You know, a lot of them are high numbers because we only have about 6 more weeks left in the year. And so far, we've spent 86% of the allocated dollar amounts. So basically, what's left for the current fiscal year are their career wages and whatever we have May and June's, paid on call wages to make, and then whatever utilities and some expenses. But I think overall, we're in decent financial shape for being a pandemic fiscal year. I don't know if anybody has any line item questions.
No questions?
No,
All right.
I don't anyway.
Thank you, Peter.
Okay,
All right, moving on to fire chief's comments.
Okay. Thank you, Jane. Welcome board to the meeting tonight. Chris, if you could pull up the incident reports, we'll just go over this briefly.
I just realized I don't think I have the recent ones, Chief. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. We're up for the representatives of the municipalities, we're up about 13% on calls. I think, I'll get to this under Chief's comments. I could jump right into it now. One of the most significant incidents we had was a massive gas leak in downtown Saugatuck. And I think it really shows the benefits of staffing the department. We got there in time. It was in a very precarious situation. A lot of restaurants, a lot of ignition sources that had the capability to level the square block. We evacuated the square block. It was on Culver Street. As you know, we had a building blow up from a gas leak before from a vehicle that had hit a gas meter. This was a piece of equipment that fractured a gas line that was fractured below the shutoff. The gas line was below the surface, and it took about 75 minutes for the gas company to get there, and at which time we had to wait for an underground street crew to get to the gas line and shut it off. So we evacuated restaurants, all the facilities, all the buildings around that area, coordinated with the sheriff, traffic control. So one of the more nerve-wracking calls, particularly with our downtown business district, with the building so close. So great job by my crew, a great collaborative effort with Michigan Gas, and no injuries, no damage other than the gas line. So I'm happy to report it was a win. Next up, community risk reduction. The state of Michigan has experienced 51 fatal fires in 2021 to date, which is significant. So we continue to work on that to reduce deaths in the state of Michigan, and it's a constant challenge. We wanted to report to the board, we did have an employee injury. We had to file a workers' compensation claim. The employee was a paid on call employee who was moving a cot on an incident one night, was going backwards and stepped on uneven concrete on the sidewalk and severely sprained her ankle, pulled some tendons. She is out of work for 2 weeks. And the one thing that I was asked by the employee is there any insurance for if a paid on call person is laid off due to an injury? So I'm waiting for a response from our insurance company. Something very concerning to me. She made a response, went to the call, she gets $23, and then she's out of work for 2 weeks. So I have a real issue with that. I'm hoping we have insurance. This has never come up before. So I'll let you know about that. We already covered a gas leak. I want you to know we're in the middle of rental inspections. I think Chris Bernhardi and Chris helped do about 25 last week. We are also in the midst of hotel inspections, and we'll be doing business inspections in downtown Saugatuck and then Douglas City downtown. So we're very preoccupied doing surveys and inspections. I believe that's all. If I may, Eric, do you have anything to share with on the gas leak?
I do have the stats now, Chief, if you'd like them to be shared too.
Yeah, let's go, just scan them real quickly. I think we're up to 13%. If I'm wrong, we'll change it. So just a summary, yes, we are up 13%. Notable on there, our response time has escalated. A lot of reasons for that, nothing in particular, it fluctuates. We did a mutual aid live fire training session with Ganges and Grascup. As you know, ISO awards many points and merits mutual aid training. And Captain Betts and the team hosted a live fire training because we were kind of stagnant over the winter time. So that was a huge success. And we had 5 firefighters in there who've never been in a hot, smoky environment before. So it was very productive, very rewarding, very gratifying. So I think that pretty much summarizes the incidents. The rest of it, if you see something that you want answered, feel free to reach out to me.
I have a question.
Sure.
On all these inspections you do you find most of them are in compliance, or do you find a lot of not in compliance?
I'd say most of them are, yeah, go on, Chris.
I would say with the rentals, typically anyone that is done by an agent, a local agent, for example, like Vacasa or Quaint Cottages or something like that, those are usually in compliance because they're familiar with the rules. Ones that are owner managed typically are not, because they don't understand or follow the checklist or even read it to begin with. And then with the commercial stuff, for the most part, overall, they're in compliance, but we may just find a miscellaneous extension cord or an extinguisher that got missed on annual surveys or things like that. But overall, it as a whole, it's pretty much in compliance.
The ones that aren't, do we go back and check and see if they've come in
Yes.
compliance? Okay.
The rentals pay a reinspection fee, and then we do go back and do a reinspection after the fact. And they're
Okay.
not approved for rental until we do that reinspection.
Okay,
So
good. Thank you.
One of the things I noticed at the gas leak is there's a common shared egress corridor exterior. And that was completely obstructed. And I went down, and 2 of the businesses were shut down. I went down on a Sunday to speak with the owner, and she called me Sunday night, and we are working to get that all emptied. I removed everything I could, but one of the items was a freezer with an extension cord that went in a locked building. So that we have to follow up on again. But that's what spiked the business surveys that we want to conduct downtown Saugatuck.
Okay.
Greg, I may have missed it, but what was the date of the gas leak?
oh,
I remember it, but don't know what the date
It
is.
was Friday, May 7.
Sorry,
May
Friday.
7th, Friday,
Friday, May 7th?
Yeah.
Thank
my
you,
day off.
always.
Yeah, I mean, this was huge, the potential to level the block. As some of you may remember the building on in Saugat or Douglas, the person hit the gas
Yes.
meter, the gas
Yes.
leaked down in the basement, got to the pilot light of the water heater and blew the whole building off the foundation with people in the building. So no one got hurt. We lost the building, but this potential, that was a standalone building. All this was connected. So this was a huge risk factor.
Can you be more specific as to which building was involved or buildings?
I'd say it was the back of Butler Street in an alley where they were patching some asphalt. The caller was Bodie's Restaurant, 230 Culver Street. The manager there was just right on top of it. She did a great job notifying us. Plus I had a call. She called 911. Then I had a call from Kevin Tringilli, who owns
Okay.
the old Kilwins building. He called me directly on my phone before the 911 came in. I always love those 911 calls to my phone. Hey, we got a big gas leak here. Because I have to get 911 involved and get my staff going. I just happened to be at the station when this happened. But early warning is a big thing. And before we even got notified by 911, my staff was notified and we were getting ready to respond.
Good job.
Thank you. Jane, that is all I have for chief comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on. Unfinished business. Item A is household hazardous waste recycling day update.
Yeah, I wanted to share with the board that we collected 25,000 pounds of hazardous waste in our tri-community areas, that just that much more safer, and the environment that much better off with the products, with the bad stuff, getting in the hands of the right company. I can share with you that DNL Lab, the company, their staff could not have worked harder and been more organized. It was a very impressive, well orchestrated recovery company, most impressive. And we were kind of on Blue Star, the fire department was on a Blue Star managing traffic, and the people were very appreciative. We thanked them, they thanked us. So we felt very gratified by attending the day, the recycling day. And I look forward to continued recycling in the future.
Good.
Next up is, we have not heard any update from the subpoena or the lawsuit against Township. We do have scheduled a subpoena for Chris Manos. He has to do a deposition Wednesday. We're hoping that will be rethought and we won't have to go through this, or Chris won't have to go through it. We have that requested to our legal representative. So that's all I have to update on that. The next, I will refer to, if I may, the wage study to Dan Fox.
Thank you, Greg. You'll remember, I think you all remember this subcommittee effort grew out of just an overall observation that the board could use more information on salary costs and trends and so on and so forth, given that line item, if you will, amounts to somewhere near 60% of the total fire district budget. So that was, more than anything, that was the motivation here. You've got the written report in front of you. Rather than going through all of that word for word, I want to focus on the second page that includes the specific recommendations. These, you should know, have been Eric, myself, and Jane met with Greg earlier this week to review and discuss these. Pleasant get together. On the recommendations, the first one notes, this again on the second page, notes that we recommended care be taken so that the fire district doesn't over certify staff beyond what is required for normal operations, given that doing so can result in higher personnel costs. We were recommended that a monthly breakout of personnel costs, which will basically be given just not unlike the incident reports or whatever, but which will be simply basically a 4-digit report, a total salary, benefits, total cost, personnel costs for full-time for part-time and for paid on call, each of those, and then a total of those three. Again, not to be overanalyzed in any given month, but ideally designed to give a running feel of the ebb and flow of those costs, and obviously identify anything that's crazily out of line. The report won't be perfect because some months have an extra pay period in them, so those months will look
Yes.
odd, but over time, we'll all develop a feeling for that. We also recommended that the board, in its fiduciary relationship with the three jurisdictions taxpayers, that the board engage an attorney experienced in labor matters to review the union contract. And Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, but that you said is underway, that you had started that on your own without hearing from us, I think.
What, yes, to be accurate, Dan, I put the lawyer on notice that this would be coming subject to your approval.
Okay.
So,
Great, thank you. We were recommended the board review and authorize pay ranges for full-time personnel. Those positions, a range for each identified position, and that be done annually concurrent with the budgeting cycle. So basically beginning roughly a year from now. We made the note or the recommendation too, that for future recruitment, that each of the positions be the subject of a somewhat detailed, I don't know if that means a page or half page or whatever, but a somewhat detailed written job description that lists the requirements, the certification requirements, the full range of expected duties and so on and so forth for each of the positions. Eric, what did I miss the same one I missed last time? Apparently not.
I think you got them all.
And the specific recommendations down on the bottom that were operational considerations were offered not as recommendations, but just that as operational considerations. As we met as a group, which I think in total, probably 3 times different members present or not present at any given time, it was inevitable that when you're talking about salary, personnel costs and so on and so forth, that you'd get into areas that have operational aspects to them that were beyond, honestly, the objectives for this subcommittee. So a couple of them are recorded there for posterity as much as for anything else. And beyond that, I think that covers it. I guess I should apologize in that this got listed as a wage study, which was maybe a beginning point, but it was not. It was more a look at human resources costs and what have you in general, rather than a study of any individual set of wages. And I will tell you, it is on the first page. One of the first things we did was contact a couple of 3 consultants, I think, who have expertise in local government consulting on a variety of issues. And from what we could tell, the most experienced of them in Michigan, well, he's from Colorado, or he lives in Colorado, but he experiences in Michigan, as it regards those specific efforts to get a comparable number or numbers for any position, fire department position, whatever, so that you'd have a basis to compare person X's salary with an average of X or 3 other like positions elsewhere. We were advised to completely abandon that effort because attempting to find apples to apples comparisons are doomed, because no 2 departments are close enough to similar to allow the financial data to be compared. Size of serviced areas vary, number of staff vary, also amount of equipment vary, size of facilities and so on and so forth. There are so many variabilities, which you can see just, I mean, if you want to look between here and even Grass Cup, I mean, it's so dramatically different that getting those kind of, in my mind, what would have been easy comparables is fated to fail. So we abandoned that effort and the effort to try and pin down a number, and the recommendations on that I've just gone through address how to try and deal with that, namely watching things month to month, setting budget parameters at the start of the year and so forth. So with that, if there are questions, I'll happily entertain them or kick them over to Eric, who knows more about all this, or Scott, either one.
You guys did a good job on that. I enjoyed reading it.
Okay, I guess we have questions. It is very difficult to find comparables, and this Mark, who does a lot of work in the state, wouldn't even consider taking this on just because there are no comparables. One fire station does not compare to another by any means. So we'll move on. Thank you, Dan, for your work, and Scott and Eric. And we'll move on to the collective bargaining agreement, which is under new business.
Thank you, Jane. In your packet is a letter of introduction about the collective bargaining agreement that you have, the packet on page 17. Essentially, we're at a point now where I would recommend to the board that the collective bargaining agreement, as I refer to it, be sent over to Jeff Sluggett and his staff and labor expert for review. And as Dan had mentioned, I did call Jeff to anticipate this and anticipate he'd be sent this document real soon, as you guys approved it. So I included a motion in this, but Jane, I don't know what you would like to do, if you would like to field any questions that might surface at this time.
I haven't run through any questions, but shouldn't we do this after legal goes over it? Shouldn't we approve the bargaining agreement at that point?
Yeah, the motion is just to send it to Jeff
Okay.
for legal review. I'm sorry, I didn't mention that very well.
Okay, the motion, I'm confused.
The motion is merely to get a fire district review. So you're not approving it. It's going to be
okay.
reviewed and approved by the lawyer.
Okay. So it goes to the lawyer for review, then it'll come back to us for approval or non-approval.
Yes,
Whichever.
that's correct.
Okay, now hypothetically, because I'm not against this necessarily, but hypothetically, what if the board doesn't approve it?
Well, I think we should expect their lawyer and our lawyer to, have some questions, and we just need to iron that out. I think you know me enough. I'm very capable of negotiating many contracts, and this is no exception. This is just an agreement with my staff, and I know my staff. This was not about money. This was about we want to have a margin of security to the best of one's ability. And this is a way of organizing. The beauty with the collective bargaining agreement was this. We revealed and discovered there were many benefits we weren't even aware of. The dental, the volunteer fire service has a death benefit we really didn't understand. So the collective bargaining agreement revealed a lot of the benefits that over the years with different administration were implemented, and we have. Peter was a big help with all this and figuring out, the 457 plan and the different types of benefits that we have. My benefits are different from the full-time staff. So that's the kind of the epic thing of what happened with the agreement was identifying what do we have? Because we never had a list of things. We have insurance, we have this, we have that. Do we have vision or do we not have vision? This clarified many of those areas. So that's what we worked. Also, the other thing for the board to keep in mind is the agreement was formulated after our handbook policy. Many of the policies, just about all of them, were taken from the handbook, which you've already received, reviewed, and approved. We didn't recreate areas. And the ones we did, we pointed out in the letter. We identified what is not in the handbook, such as a recommendation for annuity, recognizing being employed with the fire department for 5 years, 6 years. So those types of things we put in there, and you can see on page 18, Chris has got it up on the screen. We emulated the part-time PTO system, paid time off, I should say, that Saugatuck City has. Our vacation time tracking was very cumbersome. And we simply took the language from the handbook that Saugatuck City uses and implemented it in our agreement. Also, a longevity pay. That's where I was losing that word. Longevity pay is something that, recognize the fact that our full-time staff, their average years of service is 11 years. We want to retain people. We talked about this several years back. So we need to pay people with a salary range that commensurates with their duties. And that's a real balance. What we think may be, appropriate, they may not think it's appropriate. I got a lieutenant who's got a, fire science degree and certifications to fill a Volkswagen that makes $49,000 a year. In my opinion, that's not nearly enough, but that's a separate issue we'll deal with. What we put in here, we identified what the impact is. The longevity pay affects this department $1,000 a year because some of the employees don't qualify for the longevity pay because we just implemented it. Some of them had started out as paid on call. That isn't rolled in, included in the longevity pay. It's when they became full-time. So what I have to share with you is, I think this is a fantastic agreement that recognizes your most valuable asset, your personnel. And this is what they wanted. And I think it's a very fair, equitable agreement that I hope you agree with me in the end.
Jim,
Go ahead, Dan.
I was going to say, if Chris would back that up to page 17, I'll make the motion. I move to send the draft of the collective bargaining agreement between Saugatuck Township Fire District and Saugatuck Area Professional Firefighters Union, local number 5291, to the Fire District Council, Jeff Sluggett, for review and approval.
Could I have a
I'll
second?
second. Okay. I seconded, but somebody else might have jumped in. I don't know. I might have got it before me.
Stacy, did you second?
Yes, I will, if you want me to.
Oh, I did.
Oh,
Yeah, I
it is
did. Somebody
true.
else did.
Jane,
Yeah,
we are sending it to Jeff Sluggett for review, but then it will come back to us for approval. Correct? Jeff's not going to approve this thing.
no,
So we are sending it,
we're sending it to Jeff to look it over and if there's any big gaping holes or any big problems with it.
I was just looking at the last line of the motion where it says we are sending it to Jeff Sluggett for review and approval
By Jeff, by Jeff.
by Jeff.
I can amend the motion if you want. I'm sympathetic to what Eric's saying.
Okay, why don't
So
you?
just delete the word approval. So stop at the word for review. Is what you said, Dan?
That'll work.
Yes.
I'll second that correction.
Okay. All right, I have a motion by Fox and a second one. Is there, any- excuse me, is there any discussion? I'd recommend to the board that you read this and see if you find anything that you object to. For discussion, I would like a discussion after. you approve it. If there's no other discussion, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, ma'am. Fox,
Yes.
Pullen,
Yes,
Aldrich,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Verplank,
Yes,
and Phelps.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0, ma'am.
thank you.
Thank you, board members.
All right, moving on, we have to set the date for the 2022 fiscal year budget to the public hearing. There's
what,
on page 67.
is the budget approval public hearing our next meeting?
Correct.
Okay, what is the date of our next meeting, please?
June 21st.
June 21st. Okay, I'll make a motion to.
There's a sample motion on the screen for you too, if you'd like, Taru.
Pardon me?
There's a sample motion for you on the screen if you,
I can't read it.
Oh.
Can't read it
Um,
at all. So why did somebody else go make the motion? since
Okay,
can't read
I motion, this is Aldrich. I motion to schedule the 2021-22 fiscal year budget hearing for June 21st, 2021 at 4:00 PM via video conference and to authorize fire district staff to publish the notices of the meeting on behalf of the fire board secretary.
it? I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Aldrich and the second by Pullen. We have to hold this every year. And we also have to go to each year to have the budget passed. So in between now and then, I'm sure we'll organize going to each jurisdiction to pass the budget. So,
You need a second motion for that?
that's the next item on the agenda.
all right, sorry. Okay.
That's okay.
I'll make that motion if you want.
You want to
No.
finish this vote first?
We
if we
gotta
can?
finish this one
Sorry.
first.
Good idea.
Confusing my notes, Dan.
All right.
Chris, will you do it?
Are you ready for a roll call on this one, ma'am?
Yes,
All right, Aldrich,
Yes.
Pullen,
Yes,
Fox,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Verplank,
yes.
and Phelps.
Well,
Phelps?
Yes.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Okay.
All right. And then this should be the next one regarding the budget.
Should I make a motion now or? oh,
Sure.
Okay. I motion to send the 2021-22 budget proposal to Saugatuck City, Douglas City, and Saugatuck Township for the respective approvals.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Rich and a second by Phelps. Is there any?
Right. Do you want me to go through this at all, or?
Here, Pete.
Oh, so basically, we kept the millage rate still will be at 2.2 mils. And so those increases for the two cities in the township would just be whatever the taxable value increase from everybody's March Board of Review. We've kept all the other revenues because we never know what they're going to be for fire services and plan reviews, cost recovery at $1,000 a piece. The bottom one there, it says fund balance transfer in. So basically to balance this budget, we took $246,000 out of our fund balance or rainy day fund to balance this budget. And the reason for that is we have to pay after July 1st, we have to make the payment of the chassis of the new fire engine that will sometime in July for the 22 fiscal year. And then basically the expense sides are just their line item out between the board salary, all the salaries, all the benefits, the operating supplies, the gas and oil, and majority of them are almost kind of a flat. There is some line items have a small increase, but most of them are flat. And then you get down towards the bottom where it says truck payment. What that is, that's the payment for the chassis of the truck, $260,000 that we will owe sometime in July of 21. That's just for the chassis, not for the completed vehicle. And then it says long-term capital, you know, that's been carved back quite a bit because of purchase of the new engine. So there's going to only be $87,000 towards long-term improvements. And then we have another $100,000 that we're kind of transferring from long-term capital into the fund balance to help pay for the rest of the truck in fiscal year 23, which is a year away. So I don't know if anybody has any particular line items or needs help explaining that to the prospective boards. It's somewhat confusing, but we wanted to make it clear that we're taking money out of the fund balance to help pay for the chassis of the truck when it comes here this July, which is probably only about 60 days away. And then we're saving, basically, then we reduced our long-term capital expense by 100 grand, and we're putting that back into the fund balance so we can help pay for the rest of that truck in fiscal year 23. So I don't know if Greg has any other comments or any individual questions.
Peter, you covered it well.
Is somebody coming to the meeting to explain this, or are we supposed to explain this? Yeah.
For dinner and drinks, I could show up. So.
All right.
Oh,
I do.
whatever it is. I don't know.
Was I
where
supposed to remember that?
So,
Sounds good to
yeah,
me.
that's fine with me. I can show up. I don't know if everybody's still on Zoom or people back in the living color. So with meetings, yeah, the other 3 units.
Will this be next month then, right?
Yeah, so it'll be the township. What are you guys, the second Wednesday?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So that's. so
It probably
the
won't be a problem, I'm sure, so.
Yeah, the township's the 9th, and I know Saugatuck, we meet here the 24th. So either Saugatuck will either have it on the 24th or the first meeting in June. I don't know how big our agenda is currently. But the millage rate is staying the same, 2.2 mils.
It probably will be easy to pass, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't look like there's a huge difference from this year to next year.
Okay, Greg, you'll probably have to run over this with Aaron for the Douglas City Council meeting.
Pardon me? You're talking to me?
No, I'm talking to Greg.
Good. Good, thank you.
You'll have to go over this with Aaron.
Too, and you know, whatever the board's direction is, sometimes, usually, you know, the representatives of municipality present the budget, and Peter and I would be present to field any questions that may happen. So we support our fire board members. That's the way we typically have presented this.
Okay, good.
Right, I think we still need to vote on this if there's no more discussion. Chris, could we have a roll call?
Yes, ma'am. Aldrich,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Fox,
yes,
Verplank,
Yes.
Phelps,
Yes.
and Pullen.
Yes,
Motion passes 6-0, ma'am.
Okay,
Jane, can I ask a question? Okay, so I've got, the township is June 9th, Saugatuck City, the 24th. When is Douglas's meeting? Taru, do you know when Douglas's meeting is?
no, I don't.
Okay, I'll find out.
I'm sorry. I mean, I go to
That's all
them
right.
periodically, but I don't remember what
they meet
Yeah.
first and
First
third,
and third Mondays.
first Mondays. Okay.
first and third Monday of the month, so.
So June 7th or 21st, then I think.
Oh, I've got it. I'm like, oh, yeah. I've got an email about it. But I'll have to
So
look it
hopefully
up.
June 7th, we can catch for Douglas City.
Okay, there's no correspondence. Is there any public comment? Moving, fire board comments. Scott, you got anything?
Nothing.
Stacy?
The only thing I wanted to say is, Greg sent me some pictures to show at my last board meeting with the new road out at the lake shore, and it's actually really pretty cool what they've done out there. So if you get a chance to look at those sometime or drive out there, they've opened up the road.
Oh, good.
True, you have any comments?
Me? I do have a question about this bargaining thing. Is this, other than wages increases, is this going to cost the fire board or the fire department any money to have the employees in a union? I know they have to
Well,
pay.
right, it's a fair question. I spelled that out in the letter, Taru.
Oh, I
That's
read
all
it.
right. That's right. There's, when you have a set-page packet, the only thing that the fire department is going to incur this 3-year term is $1,000 for longevity pay.
Oh, well, okay.
And when
that's
you
pay then.
consider the grants this department produces, and I don't know that you just got $18,000 for wages on top of $58,000 for the other grant for wages. So between our cost recovery and our grants, I'd say that's a bargain.
Okay, yeah, wages excluding wage. I just meant, is there any
Yeah.
fees or something, annual fees that we have to pay? just
No,
like the
there
employees
isn't. The
will?
only thing I put in there, I'm perfectly happy to talk about anything on this, is I've gone in this department for 10, 11 years, and it'd be 3 or 4 years, there'd be no cost of living. Nothing. Zero. So one of the things I negotiated was a 3% cost of living
But again,
in the
that's wages.
agreement. In the agreement.
Mhm.
Now, it doesn't mean it's capped at 3%. What I did, and I got resistance from the union attorney on this, was there might be a time where a person warrants a larger pay increase. So I built in performance reviews to justify that. And I had some resistance. Our staff supported my insertion of performance review that would correlate to any wages that might be 5 or 6%. So, which is not uncommon, but I didn't want them to go through this. What were the percentages last year? 2%. 2%. So for what we do in our positions, I think the least we can do is 3%. And that's why I had it included in the collective bargaining agreement. There are departments that are more than that. Their contracts read more. Our department was more conservative in nature, and we felt 3% was a good baseline and a good figure to go with.
Okay, thank you. Eric, did you have anything?
Oh, good.
Dan?
Just one thing briefly, since we're talking budget stuff. I made the suggestion in the subcommittee meeting and then with Greg, and I put it under your hats for thought or whatever, that the board consider the possibility in the annual budgeting process of carving out a line item specifically for set aside funds for what will inevitably be capital improvements for the department, be it whatever those may be, but not including firefighting or equipment of the kind, but things like expansion of the firehouse, property, whatever, primarily firehouse extension or reconstruction or renovation or whatever. That is inevitably going to cost a fair amount of money. And the only other way to get that money when the time comes will probably be to ask the taxpayers to pony it up. And we may still have to do that, but I think it would show, good financial discipline on our part, knowing that whether it's 5 years from now or 10 years from now, it's inevitable that that expense is going to come before us, so that if we begin now to set aside a figure, whatever that might be, every year in a fund that doesn't get moved to other purposes, when the time comes, even if we do have to go to the taxpayers, we'll be able to say, we've planned for this in this amount, and there's an additional amount X, Y, Z. So anyway, for thought, at least at this point, not for action. Thank you.
So you're talking bricks and mortar.
Say again?
You're talking bricks and mortar.
Yeah, basically bricks and mortar related, non-equipment related improvements, capital improvements.
Okay, good. All right, could we have a motion for adjournment, please?
I'll do that too.
Thanks. Can I have a second?
Stacy, I'll support.
Okay, I have a motion by Fox and support by Aldrich. Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Ma'am, motion and a second to adjourn at 4:59 PM. Fox,
Yes.
Aldrich,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Phelps,
Yes.
Verplank,
Yes.
and Pullen.
Yes.
All right, motion passes 6-0.
Hey,
Thank
Chris,
you.
oh, now.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.